Please welcome back Mati Diop. And maybe in the middle. And we also have, if needed, some help with interpreting. Asia Turkers Alberman, thank you for joining us. Mati, maybe we could just start by, if you could tell us how the project started. I understand it was when you heard about the return of these 26 artifacts.
It was actually a couple of years before, in 2017, when the subject of restitution suddenly appeared in the political and mediatical landscape in France, which hadn't been the case de mon vivant, through my living.
In my lifetime?
In my lifetime. It was strangely the first time the word restitution seemed to exist. It shocked me a lot. First of all, because why is it the first time this issue is being is front stage? Why is it a subject that I had not taking more? Pourquoi c'est pas un sujet qui m'avait jusqu'à présent davantage mobilisé?
Why I hadn't been more mobilized by the subject until then?
And I think the shock was to understand that the project of disappearance, the project of oblivion, that is strongly at the core of colonial project, had kind of worked on me somehow. And so this is why it was a shock. Also, I could very clearly see that probably my second feature was going to be about this, because when I heard this specific word, restitution, I immediately envisioned what a restitution physically would look like, and this image of this very, very heavy and massive pieces going out of the plane and landing on the landing, le sol natal, pardon.
It's birthed in its birth ground.
Yeah, I saw that image and I knew that I wanted my next film to welcome this one and single vision. And also I felt that restitution was also probably at the core of my work, since I chose in 2008 to engage my cinema in Africa, in Senegal, more precisely in Dakar, where my uncle made all his films and where I somehow also come from. And so for all these reasons, I knew while I was actually writing Atlantics that my second feature would probably be dedicated to what restitution, not what restitution mean, but I had actually a fiction in mind. It was it was the idea was that the main character of this fiction would be an African mask telling his own journey from the moment of his capture to the day of his return, which I envisioned in being in the future, because I would have never imagined that a restitution would happen in my lifetime. And and then so I was basically thinking of this fiction, and in 2021, right after lockdown, I discovered in the press that 26 treasures from Dahomey Kingdom were about to be repatriated by France to Benin, and I immediately felt that it was unthinkable not to film this, not to archive this, and so I called I immediately said this to Judith and Yves from Les Films du Bal to warn them that we needed to get ready to shoot it, and they knew I had this fiction in mind, but it was extremely exciting actually to be preparing a film for this massive and definitely historical moment, and we had 2 weeks to do it. Wow. Which was
so. You said when you first encountered the concept of restitution, the images appeared in your mind. So I'm wondering, when you were shooting this act of return, did it match what you were thinking? Or what was different and what was the same?
Yeah, strangely, it's this word really resonated like a vision of the future. Mm-hmm. And so while I was making this film, it really felt like an anticipation movie all the time, which was for me as a filmmaker extremely rich and because so many layers were involved, like to grasp the texture of reality, second after second, the weight of history being really, that I could really feel, and the way the fiction I had in mind since already a couple of years was really there, like almost like something spectral, So, but yes, but strangely, there's the shots I described you. I wasn't there because I was there at the Quai Branly. It was there, obviously, for most of the film. But the only sequence I was not there to shoot, where I send a crew is the airport one. But yeah, it felt both extremely present, like extreme presence relationship to shooting, but also somehow not déjà vu. It's not the right term, but very close to what I envisioned. Yeah.
So would you say that some aspects of the fiction that you had in mind made its way into Dahomey? I'm thinking of The Voice as one example.
Yeah, all that concerned the treasures. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because like I told you, the main idea of the fiction was the main character being this African mask telling us his story through à la première personne.
In the first person.
In the first person. So even before I asked Mackenzie Orsel to rejoin the project, to collaborate with me on the writing of even before that step, at the shooting, to consider the artifacts as actresses, as actors, as narrators of their own return, was l'axe de gravité de tout.
The axis of gravity of it all, the through line.
I wanted to ask about one section of the film that's very striking is the discussion, the debate, and I'm wondering how you conceptualized that and staged it or set it in motion. Like how did that come together?
This is also yes. I don't like to use the word idea because it's more than an idea, but the urgency to hear these youth, these students, came quite early. I think even before I was talking about these 2 weeks of preparation to get ready for the shoot. It's inside these 2 weeks where I knew that not only the film would be told from the perspectives of the artifacts, but needed to be finally heard from a certain youth, and quite rapidly I envision it as 2 blocks. The shooting kind of organized itself based on the agenda of the treasures, which had many different steps, like the voyage, then being locked again in the presidential house, and then installed in the exhibition. And so inside these chapters, I had time to work on the university sequence. When I first arrived in Benin, I investigated to find out if a debate had been organized spontaneously by students on the campus. And it happened that on the radio of the campus, like 4 or 5 students got together to talk about it, but it didn't sound like a moment that was more special than the other emissions they do. So no debate of that scale had been organized, and I thought it was extremely important to make it happen, not only for my film, but just also to make it happen. And so I began a casting like I would do it for fiction that lasted around 1 month, not doing every day, but taking really the time to meet a lot of students, professors, with the collaboration of a young filmmaker called Gildas Adonou, who assisted me on the film. And so the idea was to meet students from different disciplines, histories, political science, art history, economics, to really choose young people that had a point of view to defend, and that also could assume to say it out loud in a climate where censorship is quite problematic, and that had a personal and singular and unexpected point of view on the question, and of course gathering people that did not think the same thing at all of the subject. And so it was around 10 people around a table, and then the rest of the agora. It was a more production work to gather everybody, but it really was quite a thing to organize. And I also took the time to really think about all the questions I had for them. That were questions that was. That was questions I wanted to ask them, but also questions that had been really haunting me too. Voilà. And so it was the first debate was I staged it in direct of the campus radio, because I needed them to kind of feel the tension of the direct, also to be maybe forgetting the shooting dispositif. Voilà, and I proposed Gildas, the young filmmaker who assisted me to moderate the debate, because he's such a brilliant and also very cinematic person, and yeah, and we experienced it, and it lasted 3 hours. Then I came back because I was doing a lot of back and forth with the film, so it was really, really interesting for me to be able to shoot and to edit and to shoot and to edit. And the first edit was of the debate was obviously extremely rich, but I felt some angles were missing, so I had to come back anyway to continue to shoot the treasures, and I managed to organize a second debate, which the production was a little bit like, come on, about, but we did it, and I think it was necessary because some very, very strong moments came out from the second one as well, and And the editing, we first did it in sound. We first edited the debate only with the sound, because I didn't really care about how it would look. It was about what it was being said, and yeah.
We don't have a lot of time left, but I just wanted to ask one more thing. I was curious if you could talk about the opening and the closing of the film. I'm very, just watching the film again, I was very struck by the choice to open with the mini Eiffel Towers on sale in the streets of Paris, and then to end by, you don't end at the exhibition, but the film actually goes out into the world. Mm-hmm. So I'm just curious about the way the film is bookended.
Yeah, the Paris shots were shot quite at the end of the film. The idea was basically, which was definitely not the most easy sequence to because all the film was there and the opening needed to be shot, which was quite impressive. Like, okay, how and to shoot some introduction shots, it's tricky. But so we scouted, and I basically wanted to root the very specific neighborhood of Quai Branly, which is very near the Eiffel Tower. Eiffel Tower is the symbol of European French universalism. And yeah, it was. I struggled with this opening. It seemed a bit flat, and Paris isn't a easy city to shoot, especially like this very classical opening. Like, oof. Yeah. And so, but I think that very early on in the editing, I had this idea that came to my mind, and that I was discussing with my editor Gabriel Gonzalez, is that probably the what could really embody the very complex layers of the colonial heritage. If there was one shot that could synthesize the complexity of the historical and political complex, would be to be able to somehow make the made illegal workers that sells stuff around the Eiffel Tower exist somehow, and I still didn't know how to film them because they're not filmable because made illegal, and so very with most evidence when we came, they were there, Senegalese workers, and it felt that their presence hors champ, which I should know this name, but hors champ,
outside the frame.
Outside the frame, that this precise situation would be very. I'd hope it would says a lot, and that it would connect their invisible bodies to the physical, the presence of that it was part of the same story. Voilà, and in the ending, this young lady isn't sleeping; she's dreaming, and it was super important for me to open the film on the idea, like this debate, that it's not a debate that gives any answer. It's really made to be felt like a work in construction debate that each of you need to take part of, and that there's nothing. I wanted to give the sense of inachevé,
something uncompleted.
Uncompleted. Thank you. That this under construction site, which is the restitution, that the first step of it is probably to take it down to a more society basis, and to take responsibility of the subject through a debate, from an African perspective, that it's probably the first step that should be, the first. And this frequency of irreversibility, the idea that something will never stop, something will never, like the necessity of a debate that should never stop anymore, and that that should be pushed, like a frontier is being pushed, was important. And I think this woman, not sleeping at all but dreaming, is also probably a portrait of what I've been, ce par quoi j'ai été traversée.
That which traversed me through the making.
When I heard this restitution word, and that I felt that my imaginary has been colonized, and that I needed to push my own imaginary needed to be decolonized and deconstruct, and that pushing the boundaries of my own imagination should have no limit anymore. Voilà.
I think that's a good place to end, I think, Mati. Thank you so much for the film.
Thank you so much for the discussion. Thank you. Merci.